Hey guys, welcome back to another flashlight review, and today we're going to be looking at the highly anticipated Wuben X2 Pro. And Wuben have been talking about this one for a few months, and I've been really excited to get my hands on this review model. It's a pre-production model, and I'm absolutely loving it. I know some of you have seen my Wuben X3 review, and it also has this similar but also different configuration. It's got multiple LEDs and modes. The X2 Pro takes things a step further, and it has this flood to throw beam here. It's pretty much the smallest electronic variable flood to throw beam I've seen out there on the market. So it basically just, you flip this little dial here, rotate this dial, and you can transition between both of them. There's also a bunch of colored light modes there, auxiliary modes. There's a side floodlight that you can rotate. And for some of you, if you look at this light, you might think it's a bit gimmicky, but when you get down to business, actually use the functions, you really start appreciating the complexity and the level of thought that Wuben have put into maximizing functionality in a flashlight. So to me, it makes sense. Wuben have provided me with this sample as well of the X2 Pro for this review. Now, I haven't been paid to make this video or held back on any negative opinions. So look, in terms of what you get with the light, this is pretty much it for the pre-production model. They don't give me any other accessories. They have put in a couple of 14500 cells in there. They appear to be Wuben cells, just haven't marked them. But in the production model, Wuben will include a few other accessories, including a tactical tail switch that will fit onto the back of the light. That's going to expand on the existing functionality. They should also include things like USB-C charging cable and, lanyard and stuff like that. So yeah, this is just the pre-production model. So let's have a look at some other flashlights that I have, some other flat flashlights. And I'm just going to put them side by side here so you can take a look, I guess, at the general size of them. Okay, I've got my Acebeam Terminator M2 Loop SK05 here, and you can see these are 18650 flashlights, so they're a little bit bigger. And I wouldn't say a little bit, of almost twice, maybe twice the volume of the X2 Pro. Okay, and then you've got, of course, the Wuben X3 next to the X2 Pro, and the original X2, which is a little bit smaller, and you've got here, the Rovon E8, which runs off AAA cells. So yeah, this is probably one of my favorite go-betweens of all of them, because you do get a ton of brightness, 2 cells in there as well for extended battery life, but you're not lugging around something a bit larger like these ones. Okay, so just a little close-up of the X2 Pro, and on first glance, some of you might not even think this looks like a flashlight. You've got this flat style design, and that's something that manufacturers have only been using recently. Personally, I think it's a game changer because you get twice the battery capacity and space to fit in a few other functions like this dual LED design in there, and it still fits in your pocket. So, I'd say the light has a futuristic kind of look to it, cyberpunk look, and has a number of interesting cutouts on the body that are very similar to the X2, the original X2. You can see here there's a bunch of slots, tritium slots, 8 tritium slots there. Anodizing is quite grippy as well. I got the white version, which looks like micro arc oxidation, but on closer inspection, I think it's just another type of coating or anodizing. You can see on the side there's a couple of switches. So you've got this one here, which allows you to lock the flashlight and go into either the flood, not the flood mode, flood and throw mode, and also the auxiliary mode here on the side. So quite easy. There's 3 pivot points which lock into place. and you've got this rotating dial that also acts as a on and off switch. You'll notice there's a latch here on the side of the flashlight, so basically just press that and you can access the two 14500 cells very easily. It also accepts normal AA cells, so alkaline, nickel metal hydride, which is so useful when you don't have the ability to charge these 14500 cells. The 14500 cells can be charged directly in the light by using this USB-C connector there on the side. There's a little port cover, just fits on nicely. The port is also waterproofed, so if you forget to leave that cover on, there's no issues. I really like that Wuben have added this feature to hot swap the cells. On the original X2, you can see these 4 screws there in the back, and pretty much there's not any choice there to even replace the batteries. So this makes it much more future-proof. So if you plug in the USB-C cable in here, you notice that this light turns on. There, the auxiliary light turns red. So that just indicates the light is charging, and it turns blue once it's finished charging. In the tail, you've got a powerful magnet that allows you to attach a light directly above you to objects as well. So it will stick and stand up straight, and I think that's great for hands-free use. So when I first got this light, I noticed a couple of gold pins there on the end of the tail cap. And I was kind of confused what they were, but doing some research, this is actually the connector for the tactical tail switch, which is included in the production model of the X2. There's also this nice firm stainless steel clip here in the rear, which has a decent amount of rigidity. If you're going to stick it onto a bag strap in your pocket, that kind of thing, it's definitely not going to come off. So Wuben haven't released any official information about the LEDs in the X2 Pro, but looking under the bezel, you can see there's 4 LEDs under a custom 4x TIR lens, and that's rated at a total of 1500 lumens. Now, presumably this is all with all the LEDs on turbo, as the spot and flood beam are actually rated at 400 lumens each. There's a couple of LEDs there in the center that kind of transition between the flood and the throw. And yeah, the largest lens there, where my index finger is, that's for the throw beam, and this kind of frosted lens here at the bottom, that's the flood beam. Moving on to the side of the flashlight, you see there's a couple of LEDs in here. See if I can get a little bit closer. It's difficult to kind of see, but I've never seen this LED before. This is the auxiliary LED, and it looks like it's got a whole bunch of smaller die surfaces in there. So it's composed of maybe 7 or 8 smaller die surfaces, and they're separated out on the same LED board. So that's how it actually achieves all those different colors. I'm sure it might mix colors as well, but yeah, Wuben have pre-programmed a bunch of colors in there, so you can't actually alternate between the ones that are available. And you've also got a secondary flood LED there. It's got a modified TIR lens that's rated at 400 lumens. The cool thing as well is that this auxiliary light rotates 20 degrees in each direction. So here we go. You sort of got to get your fingernail in there, but it does rotate a little bit, which makes a difference if you're maybe using the light from a hands-free perspective, stuck onto something. You can still maneuver the beam a little bit. It's also worth noting that Wuben are releasing a UV version of this light instead of the RGB, so you can opt for that one. Okay, so let's go through the UI. I just want to demonstrate how the light works. So at the moment, you can see it's in the lock mode. Okay, you basically just move this around to the 3 pivot points. So there's no functions available in the lock mode. If you double press or whatever, pretty much nothing happens. So if we go all the way to the front, that's how you access the front light. So you have to just press this dial, and that will switch the light on. Okay, So you basically just rotate, and it will alternate between flood and throw. It's kind of a little bit difficult to see here on camera. It's better with the beam shots later. Okay, but basically, it just transitions between both of these LEDs. So it's one click to turn on, and once it's on, you can just press and hold this button. That's on the low mode. There we go. This is actually a little bit better to visualize what's going on, seeing them sort of switch. So it's not exactly stepless. You can still see the steps, you know, in between. But yeah, when you're doing it quick, it's, you know, smooth enough, not make too much of a difference. And you see the light also flashes once you get to the top of the, I wouldn't say the ramp, but you know what I mean. It's gone either to the completely spot or completely flood mode. In order to go to turbo, just double press. So turbo activates both the flood and spot and center LEDs all at the same time on the highest mode. You can only activate turbo with the light on. So if I just try to double press like that, pretty much nothing happens. Once it's on, double press, and there we go. So the side light, let's play around that. So just move this switch to the center. It does require a little bit of friction, a little bit of force to get moving, which I think is good because you don't want this light to accidentally turn on in your pocket. Press the switch again, and look at that. Light turns on. You can rotate this dial again to switch between all the different auxiliary colors and modes. You got green, blue, pink or purple. Is that red, green, something like a teal color? So yeah, I think the red mode is really cool. I'd be using this the most. In order to switch to the side floodlight, just press and hold the switch. You can keep pressing and holding to alternate between both. And then from here, you can lower the brightness or increase. So it's a nice little moonlight mode, I suppose, that you can use. But going back to the auxiliary modes, what you can do is you can also double press while you're in a particular lighting mode, so particular color mode like this, and it will flash. Okay, and if I go, say, yellow mode, green mode, let's say this one here, blue mode, double press, and it will just flash that mode. So while the light is off but set on the auxiliary mode, you can double press the switch, and there's a couple of pre-programmed flashy modes in here. So this is red and green, Christmas mode, and then you've got this red and blue flashy mode as well. So these could be pretty useful for attracting attention, and you know, they use very low amounts of power as well. So here is a ceiling bounce test that I ran on turbo, and that's with all the front LEDs activated at the same time. And you can see the light steps down pretty quickly as soon as you turn it on to just below half of its output, though you do get over a minute of runtime before it completely steps down. And yeah, you can see I ran the test past the 10-minute mode. It didn't budge from that point. So yeah, it doesn't step down too far, which I like. Some of these lights, they do step down to about 20%. I know with the X3, it stepped down to around about 20% of the output. So good. Also ran a second ceiling bounce test here on the flood mode on high, and you can see really good results. It pretty much maintains 95 to 100% output for the duration of the 20-minute test. Ran a third ceiling bounce test here with just the spot mode on high, and similar results there, pretty much between 90 to 100% of output all the way past the 20-minute mark. So pretty good performance considering, you know, it's such a small light. There's not much heat dissipation generally in these smaller lights. So having a proper high mode with sustained output, even for 20 minutes, is important for me. Also ran a final ceiling bounce test on the side light, and that was with the side light set to the highest mode possible. And you can see it steps down pretty much immediately to about 50% of its total output. That's to be expected given how small this LED is in there. There's not much heat dissipation, so you wouldn't want that. Yeah, you wouldn't want it to get too hot in there. Also ran a bunch of tests on my Opal Light Master Pro, and you can see the results in this table here. And you can see on the spot and flood mode turbo, got 204 meters on switch on, which was pretty impressive. CRI 68 and CCT 5692. If we look at the results for the spot mode on high, it manages to achieve 184 meters of throw. Super impressive for such a tiny TIR lens in there. And, you know, like I was saying before, showing you before in the ceiling bounce test, you know, that's sustainable, that 180-ish plus meters of throw for about 20 minutes plus. So I didn't run the test for longer than that, but very impressive for a little light. Even on the flood mode here, 82 meters of throw. And yeah, the CCT, you can see all the figures there. They're all between 5,000 to 6,000. The Wuben X2 Pro produces a perfectly circular hotspot on the spot mode and a really nice smooth beam on the flood mode. I really like the transition as well between, you know, flood and throw. It's quite smooth. Though, like I said, you can detect the little incremental changes if you really focus. So a couple of considerations to be aware of, and again, this is just in the pre-production model, some feedback that I'll also be talking to Wuben about. There's no moonlight mode in the X2, and there's also no shortcut from a 2 turbo from off, and that's something I think would be preferred, but yeah, it's not a deal breaker. Definitely the moonlight mode for some of you might be an issue. It would be nice if there was just a way to maybe press and hold to get to that moonlight mode as usual. In terms of the shortcut to turbo, I know Wuben are including a tactile tail switch in all production models, so hopefully that adds that functionality, that shortcut to turbo. Definitely will change the game, increase the functionality of this light beyond what it already is. The second consideration is that there's no battery indicator, so when you turn it on, you really have no idea the level of the battery charge. Would be good if Wuben added that on the production model. It shouldn't be too much of an effort given that the auxiliary lights already light up during charging. So overall, I'm really impressed with what Wuben have done with the X2 Pro. It has to be one of my favorite EDC flashlights. I've been holidaying for a bit and I actually took the X3 with me. I found that to be probably my most used light because it was so light and had all these different functions, but this one I would prefer to take along with me, just given that you can hot swap those batteries, use any AA batteries. You've got more functions as well. You've got these auxiliary lights, red lights, colored lights, a side flood mode. You've got a magnet on the back, flood to throw beam. I mean, what else could you want in a flashlight? And yeah, pretty light as well. You'll be able to fit that in your pocket, barely be able to feel it. It's almost like carrying around multiple flashlights at the fraction of the size. And yeah, I know there's tons of other multi-purpose flat style flashlights out there that are more powerful and, you know, they have 18650 batteries, but the X2 Pro basically accomplishes the same thing in a similar profile and much more affordable price tag. So yeah, if you're interested in getting one, go ahead and check out the link in the description. There should be a special discount voucher there. If you have questions as well, because I know I've probably missed something out in this video, just let me know down below in the video description and I'll get back to you. And yeah, if you like the video, give it a like, click the like button. It helps me to get it out to more people. If you want to see more flashlight reviews from me and keep up to date with the latest flashlight news, then make sure you subscribe. Wuben X2 Pro, and we're going to activate this one now on the high mode. And what we can do is just change the beam to make it go to this throwy beam here. Just holding it out in front of the camera so you can see the actual change in the beam profile. Check this out. To like a flood beam. And I'll just rotate again and it focuses in and it does reach those trees out the back fairly well, and according to my tests it maintains this level of brightness and throw for 20 plus minutes, which is quite impressive. And yeah, you can double press as well to get into turbo. Oh, okay, that's powerful. So that's with both flood and throw at the same time. Turbo, though it does step down pretty quickly, pretty much as soon as you activate the light, but I mean, it's good to have this option. Very impressive. Double press to go back to the previous mode, double press again to reactivate the turbo, and you can actually use the little scroller, the rotating dial, to reduce the brightness with all LEDs on and step it up again into turbo. So that's a pretty cool feature. I don't know, it's just something really fun about about this scrolly, this rotating dial, being able to control the brightness, and you know, as well as the actual beam. As you can see here, the range of the beam. I don't have any other flashlight that can do this. I know there's a bunch of these out there, not too many, but in this, you know, particular size 14500 cell flashlight, I think this is pretty much the only one that's capable of doing this. Pretty cool. And what I can do is as well just flip this over into the auxiliary mode. I'm going to go into just this side light mode. So this is 400 lumens. Really decent throw for a side light. I'm really surprised it's reaching the center of this field, but again, this does step down quite quickly because there isn't a whole lot of heat sinking on the side light. So I mean, it's still doing pretty well, but it will step down significantly. Can turn it off, turn it back on again, but yeah, look at that. The Wuben X2 Pro, and this is on the high mode. We can actually step it down to low, medium and high, like that. And this is just on the floody beam, but we can start to change it over here slowly to this spot beam, and decent amount to throw. It's reaching the end of that tree line, and we can slowly start to pop it back into the flood mode there. Rotate it over again. You really just start to see that hot spot appear in the center of the beam. But yeah, the turbo mode, which is double press. Ooh, yeah, that's impressive. That's really impressive. It's something you don't expect. You don't expect this much light to come out of this. So yeah, it's more so the throw as well, that long range performance. Quite impressive. And switch over now to the side light, and that is the 400 lumen side light. You can lower the brightness down or increase it. There you go, locks in place at 400 lumens. Decent amount to throw, but it does step down quite quickly. And yeah, the auxiliary modes are a little bit too dim to see from this range, but it's enough for, you know, just maybe a meter or two ahead of you. This is the one you want to use mainly if you want a bit more range.